Yes, you read that title card right, and yes, I'm serious. So,
Hold on to your butts.
because this video is a critical analysis of Shadow of War with an agenda. Here's the deal. I'm saying literary analysis because the point of this video is to demonstrate that video games are just as capable of creating unique and meaningful art as a piece of film, novel, or theater. That video games no more deserve their reputation as vapid and childish than Shakespeare deserves to be shelved next to Twilight just because they both happen to be written down. I'm not using film analysis because that's not what I'm trained in. I'm an English major, not a film major. I'd like to use the term video game analysis, but the fact I'm making this video at all suggests that the term is tainted. Very few people hear video game analysis and expect to hear a nuanced evaluation of the contribution a work of art makes to human civilization. Which, I argue, many video games do, including Shadow of War. My argument is based on 3 assumptions. Note, I'm not going to try to defend these assumptions here, as explaining and defending any one of them could easily be the work of an entire master's thesis. We'll dip in just enough to get ourselves going. First, I'm stealing Bakhtin's definition of literature, that a work has literary value if it invites multiple meaningful interpretations. Put another way, that exploring the ambiguous areas of a text, or gaps, creates meaning rather than destroying it. Second, that adaptations become meaningful through their engagement with the gaps present in their source text. This one is mostly mine, though it does build on Linda Hutchins' work in A Theory of Adaptation. Rephrased, that an adaptation is worth looking at if it has things to say about stuff in the original that were not adequately covered in the original. Third, and I'm stealing this one from Tavernor's BioShock and the Art of Rapture, that video games produce compelling and original art by deliberately building and reflecting on their nature as games. At this point, perhaps you are thinking, if you are trying to show that video games have literary merit, why did you pick a AAA starched and processed title like Shadow of War and not some artsy indie game? There are 2 reasons I've chosen to use Shadow of War as my example. First, Shadow of War ignores the obvious choices. While it would be easy to cherry-pick a game like Soma with its exploration of existential dread, or The Stanley Parable with its mind-bending take on the nature of free will, and then argue that they have literary merit, it would not be easy to argue that they are representative of the average game. While amazing, these titles are not mainstream. Second, that despite being a mainstream title, Shadow of War has an amazing adaptation pedigree. Today it is easier to list the genre fiction novels not obviously influenced by Tolkien's Legendarium than those that are, and the Jackson film adaptations received 17 Academy Awards. And Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, the prequel to Shadow of War, won Game of the Year. The point here is that Shadow of War is attempting to join a very prestigious conversation. It's more than a big deal if Shadow of War has something meaningful to contribute despite being in such illustrious company. This harkens back to my second assumption. It's a big deal if Shadow of War can engage with the gaps in The Lord of the Rings, whether the films or the novels. With that out of the way, let's dive into what Shadow of War is actually about. From here on out, there are going to be lots of spoilers.
G'day, Bruce the Chopper here. Middle-earth Shadow of War is an epic third-person open-world action RPG and the follow-up to the award-winning Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor. But if you didn't play that one, you silly goose, here's the bits you need to know. There's a fella called the Dark Lord, Sauron to his mates, the most powerful bloke around. He meant to conquer all Middle-earth with his army of orcs. But some folk tried to stop him and he didn't much like that, so he killed one, named Italian.
What?
That bloke? Oh, that bloke's you. Tricky bit is, Talion didn't stay killed. See, there's this elf lord who died ages ago, and he's got history with Sauron, something about some rings. The elf keeps Talion from carking it, Talion gives the elf a body to live in, and together, they become a Bright Lord. That's bright as in glowy, not smart.
He taunts us. I know, Talion.
So the Bright Lord is going up against the Dark Lord, and what better way to take down the Lord of the Rings than with a ring of your own? What could possibly go wrong?
There are 4 main points of interest in Shadow of War that I'm going to examine to make my case. First, there's Bruise and the Nemesis System and how it complicates the hack-and-slash nature of many video games. Second is Shelob. Third is the Shadow Wars Act and microtransactions. Fourth, what I'm going to call playing with the devil's toys. I only have time to address the first one in this video, but now you know where we're going. Alright, so, Bruise and the Nemesis System. The Nemesis System uses procedural generation algorithms to create custom orcs to populate the game world. This means that no 2 orcs are ever the same, whether they are fortress commanders or one of the thousands of grunts the player will encounter over the course of a single playthrough. This capability to provide an endless series of unique individuals makes interaction with the game world far richer than it would otherwise be. This is due to the primary way the player advances throughout the game. Shadow of War features 5 fortresses, each of which has its own garrison of orc, grunts, captains, war chiefs, and warlords. Players progress by conquering these fortresses or defending them once taken. Doing so requires either killing the opposition or by taking control of them using the powers of the new ring. The player has immense freedom in how they approach their conquest and defense. So that's the basics of the Nemesis system, which brings us to Bruise. Who's Bruise? This is Bruise.
I've had enough of your mouth, Bruise. So now I'm gonna kill you, for all these orcs to see. Always said you were an optimist. Know what that is, mate? It's about sizing up a situation that's bloody impossible and saying, yeah, all right, I'll have a go. I'm exactly the same way.
You serve the right lord now.
Bright Lord, Dark Lord, same thing really. End results me ripping spines out, which I like to do anyway, so either way's a win.
A fine addition to our army.
Name's Bruce. From here on out, I will be your shadow. No one gets to you without my say-so.
Maybe I'm alone here, but I have to echo Celebrimbor,
I like him.
which makes it hurt all the more when he stabs you in the back. And he steals your fort.
It is.
And then you torture him in retribution.
Enough! Kill me! Just end it!
And break his mind.
No.
And even this troll who normally only talks in black speech thinks you're a monster.
You're a cruel one, Gravewalker.
Bruise is one of only 4 orcs in the entire game not procedurally generated, but it is emblematic of the unique tales just playing the game creates. The point is that Shadow of War gives you a playground full of unique individuals that you will choose to kill, mind control, and torture. And the game lets you know that you are the monster here, not the orcs. Remember what Bruise said when he first joined you?
Bright Lord, Dark Lord. Same thing, really.
Yeah, he wasn't just being flippant. Films and novels can show you the consequences of being a monster, but as shown here, video games have the power to let you experience the consequences of being a monster. And I would argue that that is of worth to human civilization. This is a gap in The Lord of the Rings that Shadow of War explores. Understanding that you could be the monster, regardless of your intentions, is a gap everyone should probably think about.
Finally, all will fear me and rejoice.